Behind the Counter is brought to you by Audible.com, the internet's leading provider of audiobooks with more than 100,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature. For a free audiobook of your choosing, go to audiblepodcast.com/Andrew. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to stitcher.com/GFQ. All right, what's up, and welcome everybody to another episode of Behind the Counter. I'm your host, Rich Stambolian. We're still missing the number 2 in that intro, and with me is the original dino writer himself, Jonathan Adler. Guy who writes dinosaurs. You remember Dino Riders?
Absolutely. It actually has the best promotional poster ever made for any toy in the universe.
I would agree with you on that one.
So well drawn. I think Brian Steelfees did that.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Those, like, I love Dino Riders because they took one of my favorite parts of childhood, which is dinosaurs, and then put cybernetic suits of armor on top of them that people could ride.
generic dudes riding gigantic robot.
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you who any of the characters. I know there was like a smart doctor.
I never had any of them.
There was like a Papa Smurf. I had one. I had like the crappy one.
I used to watch a show a lot along with that other show that was really awful, but I love the hell out of it.
Centurions
I watched the hell out of.
Mask.
My stew is done.
Mask is great.
Mask is awesome. But that show that there was
Do you have to go because your stew is done?
My stew is done. I gotta go. It was like plant people. Like it was like bad guys and good guys. They had vehicles that were made out of like plants and stuff.
Smurfs.
No. And it was awesome. It was like great art on it and just awesome show.
Does anybody know what that is? Does anybody know?
I remember like a lot of the bad guys, they had like black.
Was it Wheeled Warriors? That's what my brother said.
It could be Wheeled Warriors.
Okay.
He had like vines and stuff like that and thorns coming over the trucks and stuff like that.
That sounds just like sad to me.
It was badass. No, it was really, the art was awesome.
Not a bunch of guys in wheelchairs.
No. I think it was Centurions.
Yeah. No, the Centurions were like...
And humans were awesome.
And humans were awesome. Centurions was the guys with a bunch of holes in their chest.
They sucked.
And their bad guy was awesome.
Yeah, it was. I would get them. I'd always get my thing when I was a kid, I'd always get the blue guy. So I had the blue dude, and I'd plug stuff in, and I'd always lose all the crap. And
there's a lot of crap to plug in.
There's a lot of stuff. And there was they're bringing back, I think Power Lords is coming back.
Really?
The Four Horsemen are doing that. Not these guys.
Not those guys.
No, the guys with the awesome He-Man figures.
Okay. Do you think there's like a weird like disconnect between the Four Horsemen?
There's so much Four Horsemen, though.
The sculptors and the Four Horsemen, like the woo, like those guys.
A disconnect between them?
Yeah.
Do they talk on the phone or anything like that? No, I don't think they do.
No, I'm saying like as a fan, like a pop culture fan. Again, this is the your weekly resource for nerd culture, pop culture, and
toys,
culture samples,
toys that we reminisce about,
toys that we used to love. Do you guys remember G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero? Yes, we do. I also remember
I like G.I. Joe. I like Transformers. I like He-Man.
We got a new viewer, Vinny4, in the chat room.
What up, Vinny4?
Vinny3 died. So Vinny4,
I was about to ask you what happened to the first 3.
Vinny4 took his place.
Are you the fourth horseman? You death?
He came from the wrestling show and just like he was like, oh my god, this is a comic thing.
Same guy.
I gotta check this out. Who'd have thought that pro wrestling appeals to comic book fans?
Very polarizing though.
Yeah.
For some reason, they don't really mix. I think because of like all the characters there now.
I think if you were an ECW fan, you were a comic book fan.
Yeah, I think so.
Just, like it stopped.
I think so. I think because most matches happen inside of a comic book store.
Yeah. Either best or royal.
Either or ultimate.
Definitely ultimate. That guy actually had his own wrestling commercial where he threw a kid through a table.
Yeah.
We crushed the competition and he powerbombed like some poor he essentially powerbombed the freckly faced kid from The Simpsons through I know
what kid it was.
Like a
I went to school with that kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know.
Yeah. Of course he is.
You're close. You're close to fame.
Who's close to fame?
You.
Me?
You know the kid.
Oh. Yes, I am close to fame. I'm touching fame right now in my mind. My mind's eye.
Couch. So what's going on, John?
Not much. A lot going on, huh?
A lot of comic news.
A lot of comic news.
We're doing a comic show.
We are doing a comic show. Before we do that, I want to big up something real quick.
Big it up.
I made a list today to be a little bit more organized.
Oh, look at you.
Listen, I know this is a comic book show predominantly for the most part, but Game of Thrones trailer premiered this weekend.
Yeah. I actually posted it on our Facebook page.
Right on. Yeah. Thank you, man. 10 million views within 2 days. So far, the biggest show that exists on HBO right now.
Ever.
Hopefully, I think ever also. I think hopefully it will overtake that god-awful Walking Dead show.
Ah, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, Robert Kirkman, or anybody who loves Walking Dead.
Don't be sorry. Don't apologize to Robert Kirkman. He should know better.
Yeah.
And don't hire the guy. So they've basically their showrunner is like the Defense of the Dark Arts for Harry Potter. For those who get the reference there, constantly replaceable in every single season. Yeah. We now have, I can't remember the guy's name. Should have written it down on my list. The dude who wrote Ghostwire 2 is now the showrunner for Walking Dead. Yeah. Awesome resume on this guy. If you written your name before, you could probably get the job as The Walking Dead next season.
If you've written down on a piece of paper,
you're good. If you've ever made words before with your mouth and with your hand, you probably can get.
Let's get in on it. Like, we could be appointed the showrunners of season. I hope so. Season 3.5, or
or let's show up as zombies or something.
Yeah. Honestly, like, I know, again, every episode, I have to say this every episode, is that our business is not to rag on stuff. Our business is to speculate and examine. Right? Because
why does it smell so good in here all of a sudden?
It does. I thought it was my microphone for a second, but it's definitely not.
No.
My wife.
Don't do a Billy Joe thing right now.
No, Billy Joel?
Billy Joel.
Or Billy Joe from Green Day.
I would never make a Billy Joe reference.
Billy Joe Armstrong?
No, Billy Joel.
Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day just left rehab, to be honest with you. Yeah. That guy sucks.
Yeah, he does.
I always thought, on a side note, I know this has nothing to do with comics, but if you guys are listening out there, it's a funny joke. To me, that guy always looked like he drank his own piss.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, Walking Dead. Listen, I love the comic. I love it. You love it, right? Love the comic book?
Love the comic.
Andrew, you love it. You love what you've read on Wikipedia.
No answer needed.
Whatever I've read on Wikipedia, I really like, and whatever John has filled me in, I really like.
The show has, I feel like, in my head, has kind of jumped the shark a little bit. And I'm not with it, man. Like, I feel like it should be on Sci-Fi. It should be on the Sci-Fi channel right after, like, Lord Odorungus from Gwar fights, like, Mecha Piranha.
I think it would make it better.
And it's just like it's like everybody I've talked to who's liked the show, like my brother, except for Tony, our friend, like Tony, he's like, oh, I'm sticking with it or whatever. But like,
but he won't watch Game of Thrones.
You won't watch Game of Thrones?
There's 2 wolf attacks in the first episode.
Oh, what's up with that?
2 unrelated wolf attacks.
Even like Adam, who huge Walking Dead fan. My fiance, like a lot of people that we know, they're just like, I don't know about this anymore, man. Like, this is
the person adamantly defending it is our friend Bobby. I got into a screaming match with him the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Like over the phone or like face to face?
Over the phone. Yeah, he said, "Why are you yelling at me, jerk off?" Because there's getting that heated. I kind of walked around with a hard on for a whole day
because he loved it so much.
No, just because he called me a jerk off. I knew I was right. It's not. It's just, you know what it is. It's a lot of padding, more padding than we should. When you have, I understand some characters are not supposed to be likable and supposed to be foils or anything. Right. Listen, Andrea is awful. I think everyone can agree that she is completely nauseating. But why, if that's the case, then why are you dedicating so much time to her?
Right.
And I don't know, character development's not doing. I don't think there's any character development. She's doing the same thing she's been doing since day one.
The only character that's getting developed is Rick. And honestly,
to a degree, and
also a weird way, Merle.
Yeah, no, well, Merle, I still don't trust. I think he's still there to backstab all of them. Here, check out this. All right, so in that episode, Merle went from a prison cell because no one trusts him. Next scene they have him in, he's duct taping a knife to his stump.
Right.
And then the next scene they have him with a machine gun, like, doing like Call of Duty with everybody.
Well, also, and then like he has the tender moment where Herschel's other nameless daughter is like singing the Tom Waits song.
Yeah.
And he like shows up out of his weird prison room and he's like, yeah,
but look what they don't trust him, and now that he has, they're giving him a machine gun. Anything, I understand they need
stuff.
Yeah, they need bodies and everything, but it's not good writing. And listen, the biggest argument I have for it is it's easy to separate the two and say like, all right, the Walking Dead TV show is a different entity from the comic book, but the problem is that you have the main writer on the show working on the main writer from the comic book working on the show itself. You have a serialized storyboard that comes out on a month-to-month basis that has won multiple awards as lauded. Why go diverge that far away from that source material? The argument is that you're trying to surprise, fans like us. We only make up about 200,000 of those fans.
Those million viewers.
Yeah. Just do the same friggin' story. I'll be there. I'm watching Game of Thrones, the same friggin' story, and works.
Well, I like the argument that
Stop it.
The argument that I got into with our friend Tony is the fact that he was like, what's like, oh, you do want it to be the comic, and I'm like, no, I want something good. I don't care if it's like the comic. I want
a good story.
If it's under the Walking Dead name, I want it to live up to the quality. Of the comic, and so far it's not. It's a franchise. It's almost a franchise at this point where like. You watch the episode and like, I look forward to it. For me personally, it's at a perfect time slot every Sunday night, 9 o'clock, not too late, not too early. Excellent. You can have some dinner, hang out, watch it. All right. I want to be completely absorbed and entertained by it. But when Carol turns around out of nowhere and says, hey,
out of nowhere,
show him the time of his life and then kill him.
Yeah.
I don't know, for that character to come out and say that, like all of a sudden she's Miss Badass.
No, it doesn't work.
It's really weird. I hope it gets better, but at the same time, like I feel like it's not. It's gonna get renewed for a season. You're gonna appease. I'm sorry. You're gonna appease the fans that love that Romero derivative zombie stuff. That's like on the Sci-Fi Channel, and it also makes me feel weird as kind of like an introspective fan that says like, oh, maybe this is what they wanted to do from the start. They wanted to give you the cool and then turn it into the mainstream.
Well, I've never been that. I've always felt the show is one of the most uneven things on television. But also, I'm weighing it against it's not. I mean, it's not Shakespeare.
No,
but the comic book has great plot points. It has strong characters, amazing dialogue, tension, the whole nine. You're on a network that has Mad Men and Breaking Bad on it. Why can it not be the same caliber, especially when you have this much money pumping into it?
I think that's also the big letdown too for like a viewer of television and a comic fan is that, you know what? Mad Men, amazing show. Breaking Bad, arguably one of the greatest shows ever to be on television. And that is without a shadow of a doubt. That is one of the best shows you'll ever see in your freaking life.
Yeah.
Mad Men too, Yeah. And exactly, like you said, it's on the same network, and you want that same kind of quality where you're like, where you can watch the way me personally, the way I judge a TV show is if I can go back and watch an episode out of the blue and be entertained by it or enjoy it. You know, you can do that with Mad Men, you can do that with Breaking Bad, you can do that with Battlestar Galactica, and I'll throw this in there. You can do that with The Shield.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's you have those certain TV dramas that you can say like, I want to watch this episode when this happens. The only episode in Walking Dead that has ever happened for me was the one where the baby dies, Carl has to shoot Lori, and then you have that reveal at the end with Rick turning around and then just like doing the Mel Gibson like throat wobble, like that thing, But whatever. So we're not gonna talk about Walking Dead for the next million years.
No.
Give me some news, John.
So the big news for us, I mean, aside from what we're going to talk about a little bit later, Andrew, cue me up. Chris Cooper was cast as Norman Osborn in the next Spider-Man movie.
Beautiful. That was almost the picture I sent him before too.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's perfect, man. That's exactly what I would kind of expect.
He's a sleaze.
Yep.
He's a creep. He was a villain in the Muppets movie.
I was just about to say that. Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh. So I'm very happy about that. This guy continues to prove that he is. Mark Webb is continuing to prove that he's got his finger on the pulse when it comes to casting. What else we got? We talked about Walking Dead.
Let's go.
2 weird Marvel teasers happened this week. Also, they've been there's been a habit of them just dropping just like 1-page like teasers. One of them was the Marvel 1 teaser.
Yeah.
Which is composed of a bunch of random names, and it's about 52 names.
Thing.
Yeah, it's about 52. You count it also? Is that what you're saying to me? Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah.
No pasta this week for Andrew.
And after that, they also did a 52 it's basically a bunch of Wolverine slash marks composed to 52.
Wolverine and not just some random
That's what I said. Like I don't see that as exactly Wolverine. The more I look at it, it could be a little Wolverine thingy because they are teasing the fact that there could be a death of Wolverine this year, more than likely. But everyone's jumping on the fact that you have Marvel #1, you have something advertising 52. Immediately you think of reboot.
Right. Soft reboot, hard reboot.
I don't see it happening. I really don't. I think they're standing by that differentiate, because 52 doesn't mean just 52 titles. It also means 52 years of the week. I really think they're about to do a weekly Marvel Comics Presents again, and that's why they have all these characters and all this stuff. It'd be like a Marvel #1 type of thing. And they would have some big name creators and have one shots and stuff. I think that's where they're going with this. I think they're just kind of rustling the feathers of everybody and that type of thing. There was something else about that too. Oh yeah, the Death of Wolverine thing is a big deal. What If is coming back? Official.
Like series, like a lengthy series?
Yeah.
Or just like what they did a few years ago where they did the one shots?
A lengthy series. They have enough creators on board now that will be able to support it. And
but what are they going to do that they haven't done before?
There's nothing left for them to do. Honestly, that's the problem.
So it's like all over again. They have to do like...
No, what they'll do now is what we're used to is have like the 80s, what if the Hulk went berserk, and what if Wolverine had spaghetti his hands? And
you can have what if Wolverine did not get his memories back?
They did already.
Did they?
Yeah. But that's the thing. You're out of the loop. You're gonna do modern stories. Okay. You're gonna do they did like what if who won Civil War, Captain America did Civil War and stuff like that. So but you have to have good creators behind this. That have an actual storytelling, have a title. So I'm interested in that. I've always liked What If. I would love to bring back a good What The.
But they screwed up that.
But What The's awesome.
But see, John, when you remember the What Ifs, you don't remember like what they did a couple years ago. You remember from our childhood.
I probably have a near complete thing of like every What If.
But there were like some really crappy What Ifs.
Oh, absolutely.
Like really bad What Ifs.
Yeah. They had what was the one that I thought was terrible? What if Spider-Man was a real spider?
There was one like what if somebody turned into like the Blob? I forgot what it was.
Okay. Hey man, I'm a strong believer in, as long as you have a great story to tell, give it to me. I don't care if it's what if Thor had turkey legs for feet. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
I'm down with it.
But you want like the touching on, because like there's been so many major storylines, like what if the what if Planet Hulk was for real, or what if Invasion never happened?
Yeah.
What if Sentry never died? I want my Sentry to come back.
I know you do.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. You're gonna get Miracle Man instead.
Sentry and Ares. They're gonna be.
I want Ares back within Sentry,
because you almost get the tease with the Ares thing every so often.
Yeah.
Or even the Sentry thing too, or like the Captain Marvel thing, like in Avengers, because Hickman's writing it, and he loves those cosmic guys, like those big, powerful, almighty guys. I always feel like he's on the cusp of just bringing back somebody that we love. Adam Warlock, Ares, Sentry, and the other guy that we mentioned,
Star-Lord's original costume.
Are we going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy?
I would love to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So continue with the news, and then we'll talk about comics.
No, I was going to say just go into that thing, but that's it. That's all I got.
All right. So let's talk about comics.
There was one more thing. One more thing. Interesting thing going on Bleeding Cool right now is they have a new column by someone named Truman Sterling.
Okay.
Who is a big name. He works on a top 10 book for either Marvel or DC. Is a writer/artist, or artist/writer, as they said, who is now going to be dishing inside dirt and writing like very angry things about.
So he's the anonymous guy.
Yeah, and eventually he's going to be outed, because they are going to give you a prize if you do guess who this guy is.
Okay.
The first thing he's basically talking about the first thing's kind of like an intro and all this stuff. It was posted I think 2 days ago. And basically, they said that he was talking about how, I got, this one thing happened where we were at Comic-Con, and this one guy got, this one, editor got together with a girl, and he slept with her, and then he was cooking something naked, and he burned his genitals, and he had to go to the hospital for it.
Really?
So I want more than that. I want some more industry type stuff. But there's a lot of speculation that could be, he's worked in the industry for about 10 to 20 years now. So kind of the writer-artist thing kind of narrows it down.
Ivan Brandon
could be one.
J.H. Williams III.
Someone said like John Byrne, and but he doesn't have a top 10 book.
Nah.
It has to be someone who currently has a top 10 book.
Jim Lee.
The
Maniple.
Who was the one? I think there was a few that were actually front runners, but someone actually thinks it's full blown Frank Cho.
Really?
Yeah.
For DC?
Well, he's in
Just all right.
well for he's he's doing Savage.
Okay, yeah.
Savage Wolverine, which is a top 10 book right now.
Is it?
Yeah. Shocking.
Surprising.
It's a good book.
It is good.
I don't like what they're doing with Amadeus Cho in that book.
Weird guilty pleasure.
Oh yeah.
I'm throwing up. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I
forgive you.
I'm dying right now. It's one of those weeks that's kind of like it's a little slow and like you're a little weird news in there.
Well, we did have a big, huge thing that happened this week that we're gonna go into.
Do you want to talk about that later,
have to.
or do you want to talk? Let's do comics first, and then just talk about that particular thing later on.
A little bit later on. All right, so let's talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy .1 then.
I liked it.
So did I. You know what? I thought it was the same story that I read before.
Yep.
I'm just so disappointed with his costume. I am so.
You don't like the Mass Effect kind of costume?
That's a good way. I was trying to put my finger on like how to describe this costume, and I was like, who does this dude look like now? Listen, Star-Lord had one of the greatest redesigns ever.
Absolutely.
The dude had a pit helmet and a mask, and he had guns. He had a great uniform. I love the uniformity that they went with the Guardians originally, which is now gone. Now they went with kind of generic, actor face.
No, you're absolutely right.
It's to showcase Chris Pratt later on.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
It was very good.
got really after I read what I was supposed to read this week, like my personal homework for this week.
Nice.
Dropping toolboxes everywhere.
Yeah.
After I read what I was supposed to read this week, I really just when you get a comic and you kind of you plant your butt in the couch in a certain way and you're like, I'm gonna read this. That was the book I did it with. And you have your awesome first page splash that says Guardians of the Galaxy. You have the universe ahead of you, and it's a really interesting story of Peter Quill's dad who bones out a
lonely hot Earth woman.
Lonely hot Earth woman because he is a human. He's a good-looking human alien, humanoid alien. And then 20 years later, or however long it was, the Badoon show up and blow up this kid's house. And he
Badoon suck.
Yeah.
Always told dicks.
And he has the Star-Lord's gun.
It's like a Nerf gun.
But the cool thing in the hospital is when they were like, "Oh, we have your toy gun. We figured you'd want it." It's the last thing that survived. Yeah, and he's like, "Okay." And then it shows him
years later
drinking booze with Tony Stark on a spaceship, saying "Oh, you better believe I'm in." What's up with that costume though? That Iron Man costume.
It's so weird
with that the starry
star thing and the non-Iron Man mask.
Yeah, it's very interesting. But it was a good origin issue, and it was cool. You got to see the origin of Peter Quill. But yeah, I agree with you. That Peter Quill costume from at this point, and it sucks to say it, at this point, the forgotten late 2000s
shame
cosmic Marvel stuff.
We would have never gotten to this point without them.
That was so amazing.
Yeah.
That you had so much crap thrown in there where it was just you know what? This is our Marvel universe and this is everything else. And it was the most gorgeous, coolest story you could think of because everything came together, starting with Annihilation and the Annihilation wave, and then going through the different chapters of that with Guardians of the Galaxy, with Nova, with Thanos, and then the rebirth of Thanos, and then the whole Annihilus thing coming back, MAGA stuff, and then the stuff with Vulcan.
Yeah.
Who is which I thought was cool, and we can segue this into Uncanny Avengers, is the fact that Vulcan was the third Summers brother brought to life by Ed Brubaker in Deadly Genesis.
Yeah.
Which was an X-Men book, and then for some reason just catapulted as the leader of the Shi'ar Empire.
Yeah.
In this late 2000s cosmic Marvel stuff that now has it just seems like there's no canon with it.
No.
It just seems like it doesn't exist, and they're kind of restarting everything. The Nova thing is getting restarted, and even the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, it just seems like they're not going to touch upon the really cool stuff that happened before.
I hope so. I mean, I think it's too early to say if they are, because if they I mean, even more importantly than the Abnett landing stuff from the early 2000s is I want my Major Vance Astro, I want my Charlie 27, I want my want my Yondu. That stuff is cool as hell, and they're great visual characters.
Yondu is pretty sweet.
Yeah, Major Victory was your space age Captain America. That's an awesome dude. So I want that stuff.
I did not like the long vesty trench coat.
Major Victory.
Yeah,
his version of him,
but
sucked.
I was okay with everything else.
I loved I love when he got the Venom symbiote and he was like, had the black on white Captain America costume.
Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like that's all forgotten, kind of like Marvel stuff. You're gonna deal with like the new. This is the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, essentially.
It's very you're definitely gonna have Iron Man in a place of the Guardians of the Galaxy, probably to help the movie too, to have like a Robert Downey Jr. in the Guardians of the Galaxy with new characters.
Do you think the Guardians of the Galaxy movie is gonna fly? I think it's gonna do phenomenal with kids, especially if you have a character like Groot and a character like Rocket Raccoon.
Who'd have thought?
But
I was trying to explain it to my mom, and she thought it's like the stupidest thing in the world.
Like, how do you explain it to her?
I went to the whole like it was just a dumb character originally. Both of them were kind of dumb characters, and they made him believable and fun. And Rocket Raccoon isn't like your Nick Fury of the space in the form of a raccoon,
right?
Do you know what I was talking about?
Rocket Raccoon is like Nort from the Green Lantern.
She didn't get that reference either.
He's like Nort, Mom.
Then I explained back how to them.
But yeah, like I really enjoyed the first issue. I actually, honestly, really enjoyed the first issue of Nova. Also. Yeah,
you're alone on that one.
Am I?
Because the art was really nice.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm like, all right, Jeff Loeb.
You know what it is? It's the same friggin' story all the time. Whenever you introduce it, like it's that space cliche of like young kid, the dumb father, like the awful father who's like a drunk and like. Yeah. I don't know. Like now there's like the black novas or the supernovas or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's hard, and also like it's hard to write a space character that doesn't border on Superman.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Who's like the ultimate space guy.
Yeah. It's always they're always in some rural town and all that stuff.
It's rough. It's rough also because like you have the parallel of Superman essentially being Jesus. To a certain extent, where like he's like the savior from another planet.
I wasn't a big fan.
And you have like again like Nova, the savior from imbued with powers from another planet, and then Star-Lord, who is the progeny of the savior of another planet. Of
another world that we don't care about.
Yeah. And I like Marvel too. Marvel is a very like Christ-like character, which I always thought was weird. Yeah. Because like you have a lot of those characters in the Marvel canon who are also not very Superman, like even like Sentry.
Well, space is always like that. Space is a place.
It's just like the one guy who's like really awesome at everything who shows up.
I think all things with space are going to be like a savior type character, and it's going to come hand in hand with
Surfer.
Yeah,
but there's like a lot of these dudes. Too many of these dudes. I want to see like the flawed, really crappy guys. Lobo. I want like all Lobo.
You have a ton of them running around, just you don't utilize them. I mean, I think you can start doing stuff with like the Imperial Guard since we opened the doors for that. And Avengers, with like,
and in Wolverine and the X-Men.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like little pieces you can play with in space.
But we're talking about the space Marvel stuff, and a good like kind of character to throw in there is Corsair. Obviously, I know you hate Corsair, but Scott Summers and Alex Summers' dad, which was touched upon, and you always forget that origin, touched upon in Uncanny Avengers. Number 4 this week.
Yes.
Right? Where like it'd be Uncanny Avengers number 4.
Cue it up.
Cue it up.
Were you able to get that screenshot working or no? Not gonna happen? Shoot.
In Uncanny Avengers number 4, it starts out with Havoc basically thinking about his origin, I guess. You know, where like, his mom and his dad put him and his brother into a parachute and threw him out of a plane that was crashing. I always forget about that origin, and I always think,
I love that origin.
I read it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. I completely forgot this happened, because like not only do you get one character, you get the other, his brother.
Well, I think the best part of it also was the fact that they, in one line, they did a really nice little character development with him, where, he's, his father straps Scott Summers, the older brother, in with the lone parachute. And it says like Alex Summers, Havoc says that he it didn't go unnoticed.
Right. Yeah.
He's like the redhead stepchild in this relationship.
You've always been the favorite.
Yeah.
And like it's a good parallel because in Uncanny Avengers, it lets Havoc, and like that's another thing about the Cosmic Marvel stuff, is that Havoc was very involved in it.
Yeah.
At a certain point. And
but like, I think that's a weak point to that character. I don't want that. I don't want spacefaring Havoc anymore.
But that was a cool thing when it happened because it was like him and Polaris and like his certain team.
When Brubaker was handling it, was very good.
Right. And then it was him kind of like picking up the pieces of what his other weirdo brother did, and him also being sick of what was happening on Earth with like the mutants, like he was looking for something else. And now you have him back on Earth and put into a leadership position by Captain America.
Yeah.
Saying like, you can, you know what? I believe in you. You could take the reins. And there was like a great bit in this issue where he was like, I know you don't want to say you're right, but you're always right.
I think eventually you are going to get a weirdo version of a Havoc Captain America, Havoc America.
Yeah.
I mean, there's doing this strong parallel between these two characters. Yeah. I think a good chunk of this book, because you're talking about Avengers molding with X-Men, you're dealing with the theme of duality. You have the Scarlet Witch and Rogue, you have Thor and Wolverine, which is awesome. The two of them, like the drinking buddies. You don't need that anyway. And it's such a rocking book. It's like, especially the Red Skull stuff. The Red Skull, like Days of Future Past, I was trying to get that screenshot going. It was that they show like a Days of Future Past with Scarlet Witch and Havoc, which was so rocking.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Especially out of like this Rick Remender Uncanny Avengers thing, where it's like it's so balls to the wall and it's so crazy. Like this issue picks up basically where like Havoc is getting half knocked unconscious.
They're all beat.
They're all beat up. Thor was possessed by the Red Skull in the last issue. Captain America had to break the spell in the last issue. Wolverine was beaten to a pulp in the last issue. They cut off
Red Skull's hand, which is nice.
Yeah.
Which I totally forgot about.
But you also have like Red Skull getting away and also just like being the consummate villain who's talking about
America
and the mutants and really just talking down to Captain America and getting into his ear. And
saying, he was right.
Yeah.
The great thing about it is he does this great argument about like how America's gotten fat and lazy and vanity and all this stuff, and he's telling this all to Captain America, and it's just so right on. Like, damn, like I'm agreeing with a ex-Nazi supervillain.
It's really weird. Somebody in the chat room said it's weird hearing us talk about people who are weird.
Really?
Yeah, somebody said that. It's
what are we talking about? Who's weird?
Navion.
Who's weird?
I don't know.
Who's weird?
I think we're talking. Am I saying that you're weird? Or is that are you saying that I'm weird?
I don't know.
Somebody's saying we're talking about weird people. I guess this guy's trying to imply that we're both.
Yeah, we're weird.
A little weird.
Doesn't mean we can't throw rocks.
Exactly.
You're weird, dude.
Navion viewer, explain it while we talk about other stuff.
Explain your words to us, please. Thank you. Rockin' book. I think the best part was the ending. The ending was so
the end of the
tight.
You get catapulted into like this Days Future Past Uncanny Avengers story.
3 months away.
Right, 3 months away, and it's friggin' Onslaught with a Red Skull head.
Yeah. Well, number one, they introduced Stark Nimrod robots. They bring up Ahab, which is great because that's a signature of Days of Future Past.
Right.
You've got Amoris's bones. He's dead. They bring up the Apocalypse Twins, which is the next big storyline. And then you get Red Skull with the Onslaught body and a walking around with no top of his head, Professor X.
Professor X, yeah.
Freaking awesome.
It's a great book. It's like all Remender stuff, and Remender has.
And Cassie is gone.
Who's taking over?
Next is Oliver Copiel and then Daniel Cunha.
Beautiful.
That's the new Marvel way. Is they want shipping at least every 3 weeks.
Right.
So there's not going to be uniform orders for most of these books. Back these books out. Ours is slow, man. Get up.
Copiel, amazing choice.
Cunha rocks.
Amazing choice also. Him and Remender have done such tremendous stuff on the X-Force book.
Plus, the good thing about this is also that I read this big thing with Remender today, so it's very fresh in my head. Yeah. The next story arc is going to deal with a lot of stuff from the Jason Aaron's Thor book. With it's basically Kang going after his axe that he had when he was a kid.
Really?
Yeah, the young Thor stuff. But what was getting me nervous was the Apocalypse Twin stuff. Because I didn't know what it meant. Because it's not going to be Ethan from
X-Force.
Right. But what was getting me nervous about was I thought it was going to be those crappy Cold Moon and Dragonfire from that .1 issue.
Okay.
Remember them?
Yeah.
So thankfully, I did some research and I actually found out those characters were just thrown in to be characters in that Marvel MMORPG, whatever things.
Morpeg.
More pegs. Less pegs. So yeah, they're not going to be used. So it's some new characters.
Okay.
And Age of Ultron's about to start too, which is exciting.
I can't wait for that. It's like in the next couple of weeks too.
Yeah, I think it might be next week.
I'm pretty pumped for that. You're not really getting many teasers for that, but it has been teased. Like it's been hinted at so much in like the last couple of years.
Well, they show an awesome tie-in with Superior Spider-Man, where he's fighting all these dudes, and he somehow attaches one of those Spidey bots,
right?
to an Ultron, and they turn into like Dr. Octopuses.
I feel like we're doing a very NPR style broadcast tonight.
Are we?
I think so. A lot of deep, bassy voices.
Do I have a deep voice today?
I think so. Yeah. I'm hearing myself extremely deep in this, and I also think the chat room is filling up with dudes who want to talk about computers.
More computers. More robots. We're talking about robots the next half an hour.
Why won't Minesweeper work on Windows ME?
Tell me more about Minesweeper.
Do you know about that?
Why it won't work on ME?
Talk to me about the Encarta RPG that came with the encyclopedia in Windows 95. It was an awesome game.
It was an awesome game.
Do you guys want, in the chat room, do you guys want to talk about the Encarta game? Do you guys want to talk about computers?
You want to talk about computers? We'll talk about computers.
Anyway. Book of the week.
Yeah, you know what it is.
You know what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't
read the paper,
I choose to live my life.
Seat of his pants.
By the seat of my pants, I choose to live my life not by the straight edge mentality, but by the spoiler free mentality. And it's very hard as a comic fan because on Monday the news dropped.
This is out of the bag. You don't have to preface that or anything.
I will. You know what? I will preface it because like I don't appreciate the fact that DC let this go.
Oh, me too. I thought it was awful.
I think it's dumb, especially because like you have such a great story in Uncanny Avengers number 4, where Remender actually came out and said like, if you're gonna buy my comic this week, check out that last page, and that is an awesome event. You know, like you get that weird onslaught thing happening.
But we know why they do it. They want to sell books. Yeah,
you know, but like coming out and saying like these are the spoilers, and it was on every form of media. It was every news, every comic news site. It was on like major news networks. I avoided it, even though I knew it was going to happen. Deep down, I knew it was going to happen. But Batman Incorporated number 8, the death of Damian Wayne,
sick.
But I feel like it's not finite. I feel like the
story's not over. He's still got another 4 issues left, I think, in the run.
Now, let me put this to you this way: do you think Grant Morrison killed the character to save him from
anybody else,
the DC universe?
Listen, I was just talking about this the other day. Grant Morrison is, when he does big, powerful runs like your X-Men, stuff like that, he does a scorched earth, method of writing where he basically takes all the pieces off the table with him. Damian's his baby. He created Damian. I wouldn't be surprised if he says, you know what, it's my toy. That's it.
I'm going to save you from the rest of this garbage that's happening right now.
But what's amazing is like I think what makes the story so great is that, he's a character who you really thought was going to be a flash in the pan, wasn't going to be anything, more to him, and he's going to be gone. And who cares about Bruce Wayne's son? It doesn't really make sense. But it rocked. He became probably the best Robin I've ever read about. So it's gonna be a shame that he's gone, and we won't have him in a book anymore. And I was reading also that the fact that what happens now in terms of like the Batman Robin book,
right? That
Batman Robin is temporarily becoming like Batman and Red Hood, Batman and Nightwing, Batman and Red Robin.
Okay.
Did you realize that Red Robin has never been Robin?
Right. Yeah.
I just because it's driving me crazy.
Yeah. Again, I mean, like that's a testament to kind of like the stuff that we always talk about what's wrong with the DC universe and like the weird relaunch stuff, especially because the Batman mythos, like Batman itself, is completely pre-relaunch continuity, and now it's like the little add-ons are like Tim Drake, the whole Tim Drake thing. It's like up in the air.
I think a part of this scorched earth thing is going to be because he's kind of upset about. He got screwed over in terms of
I'm a bad dad.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But I like the issue had like such a sweet crescendo.
Awesome.
Where Damian turns to Dick Grayson and he's like, Richard, you are my favorite partner. Don't forget. Like
he hasn't talked like that.
I remember, you know what? Like, you remember that episode of Louis from last season with David Lynch? That's how Damian talks in my head.
But you're doing the guy from American Splendor.
All right.
It's like,
I'll
bring
repeat
the
yours.
nerds.
Damien, you are my favorite partner. Or like Dick Grayson, you are my favorite. If
No, I must have 50 of my White Castle
if you did it right the first time, I wouldn't have to yell. Like he's that guy where he's just like, and then, Nightwing is like, I knew it because we're the best, bro.
Yeah.
And then like, they're taking on like all sorts of dudes. And then like Damien ends up dying fighting his own cloned hyper-aged brother, which is completely, Grant Morrison, like a beautiful Grant Morrison thing.
Well, what a fight, too.
What an amazing fight. And like, he got the crap beat out of him.
Because what's great about it is he's fighting the dude and he's surrounded by all these like Kyle Ghul, Leviathan people like on a higher level. They're shooting him full of arrows and gunning him down. He's getting bullets in his back and he's still fighting and just gets stabbed.
He gets stabbed through the chest and then Batman's like, oh no.
Just gets there too late.
Yeah. See, that's when I read that comic, the two things that make a good Superman and a good Batman story are the fact that if you keep them from doing what they have to do, like not necessarily beating them, but postponing them from their mission. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you occupied Batman too much, so he can't save anybody. You occupied Superman in the lead safe too much, so he can't save Lois.
Exactly.
Like Batman can't save his kid, and I'm really interested in what the aftermath of this whole thing is going to be, because you haven't had a shocking death like this since Jason Todd.
Well, I think it's amazing too is that you've been reading this great Joker story that you kind of promised almost or teased a death, and it never happened, and then like a month later you get Robin's death kind of almost unceremoniously, where you weren't really advertised this, and you didn't really know until Monday. We can speculate on this for a few weeks, but I think it's a powerful movie.
I got all choked up.
Yeah, no, it's a great moment. I mean, and even like I like the touch of like Talia even like turning her head, like saying, crying, and she's like a moment of weakness.
Maybe it's too much. One thing I didn't really, I kind of thought was weird. I didn't realize that Batman was wearing Batman-shaped knee pads the entire story.
Oh, I didn't realize this either.
There's one scene where he's kind of like one panel where he's like trapped in like the underwater thing, and his knees are like little Batman heads.
Little Batman heads?
Yeah, they're like little pointy like cowl knee things.
What are you doing?
But we have two more issues, and we have also like I think
two.
I think he's going for.
Let's go a little bit longer.
10. I think 10 is his last one, and then you have the other team taking over, saying like, "Oh no,
it's gone.
This is the Ashes." Well, I mean, the dealing with like the death of Damien and all that stuff, and like whatever other writing team is coming on. I think it's Tomasi, saying like this is like where he's gonna do, and they all came out with like these different plans, but what a story, man! Like, it's been like when you think about it, for a fan, because you like it so much, it just seems like it happened yesterday. But the Batman RIP stuff with Grant Morrison has been going on for years.
Yeah, Damien. Like, it was funny too. I was talking this about with our friend Bobby, and he was like, "Oh, Damien's only been around 2 years," and I was like, "Nah, man. Like, Damien's been around for a long time now. We've gone through at least 24 issues of regular Batman with him. We've gone through his Batman and Robin for about a year.
Right.
We've had this for about a year, and then we're talking about 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, like pre relaunch, it was pre relaunch. You had him team up with Nightwing.
Yeah.
Up until the point where Bruce Wayne, in another Grant Morrison story, Bruce Wayne willed himself through time to beat Darkseid.
Well, and that's also what's an interesting point too, because this has the RIP logo on top.
Right.
So, but this time it's with the Robin symbol. We learned that RIP in the Batman, Batman RIP stood for Rotten Purgatory.
Right.
So we don't really know what this RIP is actually going to turn out to mean. Because listen, we have Lazarus Pit as at the core of this storyline. But I think they're going to be keeping him dead for a while.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to do something special with the big clone. The big scary arrow bat clone.
I think he's gonna. I think Nightwing's gonna kill him, or Batman's gonna. Kill him.
He's gonna get like his memories or something like that. He may turn out to be Batman 666.
That would be interesting. But what if he gets Damien's memories in him, which would be pretty insane. There's so much you could play with these characters at this point, and then I really enjoy the fact that Morrison threw in kind of like this weird element of the whole like Ra's al Ghul thing, which has always been kind of like not like a borderline supernatural element in like the Batman mythos, where like Morrison's stories have taken so much of the surreal and through the history of the Batman characters, like when he did the whole Silver Age homage to the island of superheroes, you know, and then translated that into Batman Incorporated, and then bringing back that the relaunch, you know.
That's the key to a true writer. Not introducing new elements so much, but utilizing the tools and toys that you have in the past and making it work. Like I just read Batman the Dark Knight, which became a really great book recently, which I know you're not really reading.
Yeah.
But you got Greg Hurst writing it, and you have Ethan Van Sciver drawing it, and the story is about the Mad Hatter, and it's ridiculously good.
Yeah.
They did a good little bit in it where he's talking to Jim Gordon, and Jim Gordon's looking out the window. He's like, "This is the part where you turn, like you disappear," and like the pal turns over to the next one, and it's Batman standing behind him. It's like, "No, I'm still here," and he just walks away.
I want that panel. Like now is when you disappear, and then all you hear is a fart noise. That's it. Because that's had to have happened.
It had to have happened. Batman farts, just like us.
Did you hear me fart in front of Jim Gordon? Did you hear that? It was great.
It's a great fart.
I did it.
We got so much time left.
We have
15 minutes.
We have 12 minutes. Do you want to talk about the Oscars?
Did you read anything else?
I did.
Did you read Flash?
I didn't read Flash.
You didn't?
I did not read Flash.
Nice little reveal at the end.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit behind on Flash. I read Thunderbolts, which was good.
That was a very good book.
I read
I like Spider-Man. I like Thor.
I like Thor. I like
you read Uncanny X-Force?
I didn't read Uncanny X-Force, but I did read The Last Punisher, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Oh, that was cool, man.
Yeah.
That's a cool book. Weird book.
Very weird book. And it was like Ruka saying like, did you read the last page?
Yeah.
Like the letters column where he was like, I wish I had more time on this, but you know, like things happen. So kind of like, it seems like he got pushed off the book and had to rush the story a little bit.
He totally got pushed off the book.
But like it wrapped up with him protecting, you know, like the new Lady Punisher. And then him ending up in like an awesome jail.
Sick jail. Gets to pump iron and watch whatever he wants on TV.
And like that was like I thought that was strange. Like that was the whole thing that like Tony Stark was like, he can read any book he wants, he can watch any TV show he wants, and then he can just hang out and he can food and the bathroom's there and it's cool and he's underwater. And I feel like that was like the lead into Thunderbolts that they originally wanted to have because but not really.
Yeah, without giving it away.
You know,
yeah, because he didn't like that would make sense where they just plucked him from this prison.
Yeah,
but for Red Hulk's team for Thunderbolts, but instead they got him on the streets and recruited him there. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes zero sense. And you know now you have like I guess the Warzone Punisher is kind of like in its own microcosm of a universe.
Listen, Punisher is our Batman in Marvel, as we said 100 times. Some way he's going to escape. They'll probably explain it eventually.
Yeah.
They don't allow those little things hang too long.
I really, and I've said this before on the show, I really do enjoy the way that writers have been writing Thor when he's not a main character in books.
Hell yeah. As a supporting character, he's incredible.
As a supporting character, they've written him so excellently as like across the board where he's like, come on, let's go. I can't believe you, Frank. You're an idiot, you know? And like, he's like, warrior, stop.
Well, what I think is going to be awesome, especially with the Remender stuff, is that in his interview, he said that he's really going to develop the Wolverine-Thor relationship, which never existed before.
Love to see that.
And it's awesome because they're two drinking buddy warriors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like in Uncanny Avengers #4, you kind of saw a little bit of that where like he picks up like beating up Wolverine.
Yeah.
And like gives him a beer at one point. He's like, "You fought valiantly, my friend."
It's like like an officer and a gentleman at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
they take the car and have sex with him.
He gives him the newspaper and he's like, "Your professor friend,
you did a good job, kid."
Yeah, like your professor friend would be proud because you went above and beyond. How about this beer?
We got 3 new members joining the team also after this too.
Right.
We got Wasp being the PR person. We got the new pacifist Wonder Man joining the team. Which is nice because Remender actually referenced him as being like a Marvel Superman,
right?
Which he should be.
Yeah,
and Sunfire.
That's cool. I like Sunfire,
and we're getting a new 4 Horsemen, which is always fun as hell.
That's very awesome.
Yeah, everybody, all the wrestling guys,
everybody. Hawkeye.
Yeah, I sent him the image for that.
What a great book! Again, what a great book! That is.
Cue that Hawkeye.
That is the one Marvel comic that my fiance reads.
Yeah.
She loves it.
It's a rocking book. It's so much fun. I love what they did with the comic book covers in this issue. Every 2 pages was a romance comic.
Right. Yeah.
I love the Adidas wearing Russian bro dudes bad guys.
Bro, you
They're-
mess up now.
Yeah, which is pretty like right on.
It's very accurate. It's very accurate.
And I like the dude has like the window shades and like the all white.
Yeah.
And
Kanye.
I
Kanye.
loved the finale with it, with the big meeting of like all the
That came
underworld.
for me. That came out of nowhere because like the Hawkeye book for those of you that haven't been picking up, I think it's up to issue 8 at this point. Go and check it out.
It's
one
such
of the,
a standalone awesome issue.
It's the most indie mainstream book you'll read,
Absolutely.
like ever probably. And it's Hawkeye on his days off, and they address that. Like I didn't see that the super the mob boss thing happening, where they essentially say like this guy's really giving us trouble on his days off. You know, like we thought he was a pain in the ass when he was an Avenger, but like he's just like he's a regular Joe, and he's screwing with us. You know, and they like the whole owl bit was kind of cool, where the owl was like, I don't know, yeah, maybe I don't know,
Doesn't work out.
It's just like no, and then the Russian guy's like, I'll do it, Kingpin. So it's like you have like an interesting dynamic, and then him having like this weird love quadrangle with
all of his ex-girlfriends, ex-wife, his current
like,
girlfriend.
Exactly, like ex-wife, Spider-Woman,
Mockingbird, and Spider-Woman.
What's her name?
Black Widow,
and then like the new chick that shows up, and even the new Hawkeye, who they have like a lot of tension with.
Yeah, she wants to bang him.
Yeah, you know, and she's just like at one point in the story, like, you know, he has to knock over like a strip club basically in like a really crappy part of like a Buharian neighborhood or something, and she's like, "Are you guys done?" And then like he's like, "You're gonna have to stick out here for you gonna be my getaway ride," and she's like, "I'm leaving," and then she like peels off.
Yeah,
and that's
like I don't want to get arrested with you guys.
And he gets arrested, and then he gets yelled at by like Tony Stark, and I think it's a really real kind of like, you know, he's like the thing I like about this is like it fleshes out the Hawkeye character more to show him as a regular dude outside the costume, as opposed to like Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, who are always on.
Yeah,
you know, those guys are on.
I see. That's the thing. Like, I loved Secret Avengers when he was the leader, but I hated Secret Avengers when he was the leader because I don't like him when he's the stoic dude. I want him to be the rogue. Yeah. I want him to be the guy who is dating a lot of girls.
The wisecracking.
Yeah, this is exactly what I want out of the character. This was make the character fun. And on top of that, I want his costume back. I want it. I want it so bad. Especially since in the back of every issue they show you cosplay with some awesome dude in an incredible Hawkeye costume.
Yeah. You want him as the reluctant hero almost.
Yeah.
You know, where he's just like, I guess I was a carny guy and I teamed up with this swordsman, and then I'm doing this stuff kind of. Now I live in Brooklyn, I'm weird, and that guy calls me Hawkeye.
And I Pizza Dog.
Yeah, Pizza Dog.
Pizza Dog, I think, has a full next issue.
Beautiful. I want more of it. I don't care what people say. I want the Matt Fraction Hawkeye like nobody's business.
Yeah, I want him off FF.
Nobody's business.
I do not care for his Fantastic Four. I care for FF, but not Fantastic Four.
Why?
It's boring. It is the most boring book that Marvel's putting out right now.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. FF was incredible.
I didn't finish reading it. I fell asleep last night reading it.
The rest of it is really good, by the way. Wherever you left it, the rest of it is awesome.
Page 2.
Amazing.
I do not. I could care less about this storyline. I think the first step was the reason why I don't like it is because he screwed up with the unstable molecules thing.
Okay,
that's a result of the cosmic shit.
Okay, all right. On the regular FF. Yeah, on the regular Fantastic Four, not FF.
Boring. Yeah.
I want to talk about a little bit. Like, we have 5 minutes. I think that's enough time to dedicate to this character. Is that like, who is the number one dude in the Marvel universe that shows up looking important but is ultimately completely useless? Wyatt Wingfoot.
They haven't shown Wyatt Wingfoot in like 30 years.
And he shows up.
He shows up in this.
He shows up in FF, and like in the last couple of issues, like to verify. He shows up in the last issue to verify Johnny Storm's realness. Because it's like,
he is
like
future guy,
future Johnny Storm, and then in this issue, it's a date between She-Hulk and Wyatt Wingfoot.
Right.
You know, and the whole issue is just her. I'm not going to spoil it for her.
No, I have no problem with it.
But it's her basically like, oh, Wyatt, like, why couldn't we be together? And he's like, oh, She-Hulk. And I'm like, this guy shows up and he's the most useless freaking dude on earth.
I don't get the Wyatt Wingfoot. The only reason why Wyatt Wingfoot's still brought up is because he figured so prominently in John Byrne's She-Hulk series.
All right, but he was also an integral part of their origin. And like,
was he?
Yeah, and like,
how?
He's a
he slept through the Black Panther experience.
He was the guy who snuck them in.
Was he
to the base?
That was his thing.
Yeah, that was his deal.
Get out of here with that.
Like
crap.
Wyatt Wingfoot. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wyatt Wingfoot was the dude who snuck them into the Air Force base that let them launch the rocket ship into the moon.
Look up Wyatt Wingfoot.
You talking to Siri?
Yeah. Idiot. White Wingfoot.
That White Wingfoot. So he shows up in this issue, and it's like this whole like weird love triangle. But like the way he's blown up in this issue is She-Hulk basically saying like, you are the perfect man who is a perfect guy for every solution. And I'm like, why isn't this guy more prominent in the Marvel universe? He doesn't do anything.
I always felt like he was going to like become a weird other character, like he was going to become the next Falcon or something.
Yeah, or like he was destined to be like a Mortis or Kang the Conqueror or some crap like that.
You're wrong about that.
Am I wrong about a White Wingfoot?
He was a roommate to Johnny Storm in college.
Okay,
close. No cigar.
He didn't sneak them. I'm sure I read something that he snuck. You know what? That may have been the Heroes
the ultimate version.
The Heroes.
That's what probably it is. Yeah,
it may have been the Heroes Reborn Jim Lee Fantastic Four.
You need a good brain wipe. Get that out of your brain.
That I feel like is like stuck in my head. That he actually helped them. Like he was the guy who took the bolt cutters and like cut the fence and let them into like the airplane.
White Wingfoot.
Impossible origin. The Fantastic Four. We're gonna steal the space shuttle and get superpowers.
Get superpowers.
Yeah. I really, what? Like sometimes I wish. I'm not saying I don't love this because I love what we do now, but I would love to have flashback episodes where you could talk to us like years ago when we were reading books like Planetary, or like like 52 when they came out.
Andrew, can you get the computer people to get us a time machine and talk to side by sides?
Can you get Chris Tarr, Coach Dallas, Eric Adler, and Navion?
Eric Adler,
the guys in the chat room, to build us a
what up, family?
This week in radio time machine, so we can go back and do that week in radio.
I'm down with it. I'm so down with it.
My lip ring's infected.
So coming up next is Computers Now.
Can I do that? This week in radio tech.
ThinkBox 2010.
All right, guys, this has been another awesome and exciting, verbose episode of Behind the Counter. I am your host, Rich Stambolian.
I'm White Wingfoot.
You're White Wingfoot.